Before this video starts, if you don't know who Hypnotist Sappho is, I highly recommend you watch the previous videos I made about them. The links to those videos will be in the description. Sappho recently made a video on a channel called Formerly Sappho, where they explained where they have been for the past 6 months. As I am recording this, the video and the channel have been deleted from YouTube, but I was fortunate enough to get an archive of the video, which is what I'm going to be discussing today. This video is going to be longer than most of my other ones, so grab some snacks and drinks and get ready for this shit show of a video.
I went to a psychiatric hospital in December. I was there for Christmas too. It wasn't so terrible, and there were really friendly people there, and because of COVID policies, they let us have our phones at different parts of the day, which that was pretty nice. Was it a good idea for me, though? Probably not, but I did anyway. I was in Connecticut at the time, and while I was there, they diagnosed me with major depressive disorder, severe anxiety disorder, and symptoms of paranoia disorder and paraphilia disorder. So I'm on antidepressants now, like Paxil and Trazodone, and a pretty strong drug called Seroquel, and that's an antipsychotic. Needless to say, it mellows me out quite a lot and makes me feel a bit numb. It makes me feel good. Or better, anyway. I'm still considered a high suicide risk. I've thought seriously about pulling the trigger on my 12 gauge multiple times because honestly, I started to give up and started to hate this world and lose sight of what I believed in.
Something that Sappho is infamous for is trying to make themselves look like a victim and trying to make it seem like the people that are criticizing them are bad people. And to me, it seems like Sappho is trying to use mental health issues as a way of getting sympathy. Which, if this is the case, I don't think I have to explain why that's fucked up. But maybe I am wrong, though.
Am I coming back? Well, kind of. I unfortunately have a kind of personality where I enjoy kicking bees' nests and really pissing people off. Needless to say, that's not the best thing to do, especially in my position. So, while I am still a paraphile and that won't change, I'm not going to be an activist anymore. I'm not going to try to be an activist for, paraphile stuff, basically. And at first, it was a fun game, and, I was displaying my true feelings, but then I actually gathered a following, and a lot of others ended up coming out as zoos and maps and stuff. And that kind of only caused people to hate me even more.
Sappho said that they have the type of personality that likes to kick the bee's nest, which basically means they enjoy starting drama and angering people. Sappho tries to make it sound like they were just trolling people, when even Stevie Wonder would be able to see that that is bullshit. Sappho tried to claim that they were a paraphile activist, which isn't true. A paraphile activist would be someone trying to help people deal with their paraphilic issues by encouraging them to seek psychological help and whatnot, which is the complete opposite of what Sappho did. Sappho tried to encourage people into putting their paraphilic thoughts and tendencies into action by saying things like, kids and animals can consent, which is untrue and is fucking disgusting. Sappho was never a paraphile activist. They were more of a paraphile propagandist. I say this because Sappho lied to minors about what a paraphilia was and tried to groom several kids into thinking they were zoophiles in an attempt to make zoophilia more common amongst the younger generation of kids. Sappho also tried to state that because they gained a following, it caused anti-zoophiles to hate them, which isn't the truth. The truth is that people hated Sappho because they were advocating for animal rape, and they were grooming many people, including minors. Sappho was trying to change the narrative to make themselves look like a victim, when in reality, anyone who has done the research knows that Sappho is the farthest thing from a victim.
I'm done with that, but I wanted to make some critical points too. I've never physically been with a non human animal in a romantic way ever. I have never physically been with a minor or even attempted to physically meet one. I have dated teens, but I have never solicited nudes or anything illegal.
Sappho claims that they never had sexual relations with an animal, and since there isn't much proof of this, I am willing to believe that. But what I am not willing to believe is the claim that Sappho never solicited sexual imagery to minors. The reason I say this is because Sappho made an NSFW Twitter account, and in the description of the account, Sappho said, "Minors not allowed," but there were dozens of minors following the account, and there were even minors interacting with Sappho on the account as well. When Sappho was confronted about this, they said, "I trust my younger audience to not interact with the account." The worst part of that is the fact that Sappho didn't even bother to make the account private either. So Sappho was fully aware of the fact that there were minors viewing the account, and that Sappho was interacting with minors on an NSFW account, and they did absolutely nothing about it. If Sappho didn't have a problem with minors seeing their nudes on a public Twitter account, I don't think it's a stretch to assume they solicited minors to sexual imagery in private either.
I was never arrested, ever. I was never contacted or questioned by law enforcement because they saw through most of the made up shit against me. I was reported probably hundreds of times to local law enforcement and the FBI. The fact that I haven't been questioned after this long is a reasonably clear indication that they have no reason to suspect me of committing a crime. And if they did, they would have to justify continuing an investigation. So maybe they did a preliminary investigation and then basically dropped it. And frankly, the FBI has bigger fish to fry than some weird chick on the internet with, controversial opinions.
Sappho tried to claim that people were making up fake allegations about them, when in reality, most of the allegations that were made were indeed true, and it was provided with proof. Sappho is also claiming that there was no investigation or questioning done by law enforcement because of Sappho being a quote-unquote controversial person, when in reality, Sappho most likely deleted everything on the internet about them to avoid incriminating evidence that could potentially put them in jail or even prison. There have been dozens of people who think that this is the case, and in all honesty, I agree with them. It would make a lot of sense for Sappho to completely delete everything about them off the internet because they were scared of getting arrested.
A lot of, quote, information on me was fabricated by stupid children doing things like attempting to correlate an IP with a physical address, outright doxing a different person with a different eye color because their name was Valerie and they happened to be in the Air Force too. I mean, seriously.
Sappho was trying to victimize himself again by saying that there were people trying to dox them, which is true, but Sappho also threatened and attempted to do the same thing with other people. Sappho also mentions someone who was also named Valerie that was doxed and harassed by anti-zoophiles, and I'm going to explain that scenario as best as I can. Before Sappho released pictures of their face on the internet, they found pictures of a woman who looked very similar to them. Sappho also said that their own name was Valerie Graw, which was the name of the woman Sappho essentially catfished as for a few months. Because of this woman was being called a zoophile and was being harassed and doxxed by several people. I'm not trying to say that the entire situation was Sappho's fault. Both Sappho and the people that doxed the poor innocent woman should be held accountable for their actions. But if Sappho didn't try and claim they were that woman, she would not have been put through that awful experience. I know that this is a very awkward place to end the video, but I have talked about everything I've wanted to talk about. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you can see me saying stupid shit like this. But that's going to be it for today. I'll try and upload more in the future, but until then, I'll see you guys later.